Man, I just have to set the atmosphere for what God is going to allow me to release in this space. I was just in a very awesome room, Prophet Ken, and it was allowing individuals to just kind of like pour out what was on their heart. But even before I went in that room, um, I was doing dishes and I wanted to find a safe space. There are not too many safe spaces on Clubhouse, as we know, especially for someone like me, right? So I chose that room. I was doing dishes and I was just listening, listening, listening. But God had already been ministering to me before that. I got up early and I had to cut my grass. And I have a lot of grass, y'all. Front yard, backyard. I didn't even get to the backyard. And God began to talk to me about where we are. So we're mid July going into August. And let's have this conversation. I don't have long because I'm trying to put myself in on time intervals to get the most done as I can. So I will not be on here for 8 hours. So we're gonna make the most of the time that we have. But as I was mowing my grass, the Father began to minister to me about the poor. And the thing is, I don't care if you have a title, if you don't have a title. When you pour out into individuals, the same thing God allows you to pour, you will get tested in. If I'm pouring out about finances, I did that whole room about the sowing and what the sowing really is. There was a principality, there was a lowercase g that I anchored. So, of course, they're going to want to try to test me where in my finances. If I'm pouring out about fasting, right? Guess what I'm gonna get tested in when I'm fasting. If I'm pouring out about recovering all, guess what? It's gonna look like stuff all around me is being stolen and upheaval, like so many different things. And a lot of what we consider, maybe I was disobedient, maybe God isn't favoring me right now. What's up with this warfare? Is literally you being tested in the same area that you have poured out into someone else. That if you said it, do you believe what you even said? Is your faith on the same level of what you're teaching the next person? Were you really qualified to even release that? Because when it's your turn, your life could be grand one day. Let's look at Job. And then the next day it's like, oh, I didn't pour it, and before I know, whole life is upside down. I'm in cycles that I thought that I had broken out of. I'm in places that I thought that I had would never see again, right? Is your faith on the same level as your poor? See, that'll speak right there. And some folks feel, well, if I don't pour, if I don't say anything, if I don't accept the call, then I'm less likely to be tested in that area. But that's a lie as well. Why? Because you refuse to acknowledge what God has placed in you doesn't mean the kingdom of darkness doesn't see it. So, therefore, the plan is set to come and stifle you to keep you silent. Because the longer you are silent, the longer you're not operating in what God is telling you to operate in, the longer you're in disobedience. The longer you are silent and the longer you refuse, you're pulling a Jonah, to operate in what you have been called by God to operate in, the longer you are in disobedience. And disobedience leads to rebellion. So the enemy says, all right, they running, they don't want to use it. Great. I'm gonna make sure they stay on the run. So they'll never want to operate in that which God has called them to do. So the warfare that I would have gave them, if they were to do it, I'm still going to what? Give it to them. I'm still going to hit their finances. I'm still going to hit their children. I'm still going to hit their job. I'm still going to hit their relationships. You don't get a pass. You either pass and get your faith up, or you find yourself in a cage or a prison created by the kingdom of darkness to keep you continually stunted. So, What about the build out moment, B? I'm getting there. I gotta give y'all the process. I love y'all enough to give you the train of thought to help y'all understand how I got to where I got with the Father. So Mark chapter 2 states in verse 21 and 22, no man can sew a piece of new cloth on an old garment, else the new piece that filled it be taken away from the old, and the rent is made worse. And no man putteth new wine into old bottles, else the new wine does burst the bottles, and the wine is spilled, and the bottles will be marred. But new wine must be poured into new bottles. Well, how does this relate? It relates because with all the warfare, with all the process, with all the challenges, the process was creating a new wineskin for the poor. See, we want God to do all things new. God, I want to recover all in an old body. I want to recover all in an old mindset. I want to recover all in an old way of doing things. I want y'all to hear me. God, I want it all back. Everything that the enemy stole from me, everything the enemy tried to destroy from me, everything the enemy tried to kill in my life, I want it all back. But I'm the same person that allowed him to steal it from me. I have not moved from that place. I'm that old garment. I'm that old bottle. But yet I want you to pour back into me. Let me tell you what happens if the transition doesn't happen. Even if you get it back, it's going to get stolen again. Even if you get it back, it's going to get destroyed again. And if you get it back, they're going to use it to try to kill you again. Why? Because you have not moved your level of faith and thinking to where the expectancy that you have of God is. Okay, I pray y'all hearing me. Because before we can get to your build out moment, you got to understand that this process has been to create a new garment and a new bottle to be poured into, a new vessel, a new Brigitte, a new Alicia, a new Rochelle, a new mindset, a new way of doing things, a new perspective. Because when God gives back to you, because you will recover, hear me, you will recover. But are you going to recover with the old mindset so the enemy can come snatch it again? Are you going to recover as a new man, a new vessel, a new garment, a new bottle, so that you don't lose it as soon as you get it? You will recover. But what version of you is going to handle the recovery? Now, as I was mowing my lawn, I gotta lay this out because, some folks, you gonna get what you're praying for, but if you don't allow this process to be what it needs to be for the new you're gonna lose it as soon as you get it. And I don't want that to be your story. All right. So as God was ministering to me, I began to say to myself, I will not lose another thing. Over and over again. Even when I came in to take a shower, I will not lose another thing. I will not lose another thing. I will not lose another thing. I will recover all. I will not lose another thing from this day forward, from this moment forward, and I will recover all. All that the enemy has tried to destroy, all that the enemy has tried to steal, all that the enemy has tried to kill in my life, I will recover all. I will not lose another thing. That is my declaration. That's what I was saying when I was mowing the grass. And God says, you have recovered. You might not see it just yet, but you have recovered. Now this is your build out moment. So he took me back to, and then I told y'all in a couple of rooms ago how like I had to get a whole new basement because of a leak. And even since that day, the process has been so slow, y'all. I mean, so slow. Like, my basement is still demoed out. All right. We down in one bathroom. I'm just being transparent so y'all can understand. For those who were in that room, that was a very powerful room when God gave the spiritual explanation of what was going on in the natural. And what the enemy meant for harm, it turned around for good. I'm getting a whole new basement, but the process is slow. Still don't have no walls. But I have recovered. I still need to get my floors done. But I have recovered. I still need to, get the fixtures, but I have recovered. Well, B, how do you know you have recovered? Well, if you know anything about even insurance claims, like they submit the proposal and it gets accepted or not. But just because it got accepted doesn't mean the work starts that day. I'm here to tell you that your petition, your request has been accepted. But just because you don't see it all back in the moment doesn't mean that you haven't recovered. It just means it's time to build out. See, the next step when it comes to even the insurance claim is the build out process, where they actually come in and the work to restore back, guess what was taken out. The build out process is when they come in and start putting in the work to do what? To restore back what had been taken out. So God is saying that you have recovered, but now it's the build out process. Now, during the build out process, guess what happens? There are going to be times where you can't get in the way. So when they're down there working on my basement, when they finally start coming to do this work, guess what? I can't be in the middle of it. What you doing? How you do that? Can I help? You need me to do anything? Well, I need to be down here. No, I'm going to have to remove myself. I need y'all to hear me. I'm going to have to remove myself for this next portion. I got to get out of the way of the workers. You got to get out of your angels' way. Are they not ministering spirits? You have recovered. Now, as the angels are bringing back in and building out better, I'm not just getting no regular basement. My basement's getting an upgrade. Guess what else is getting an upgrade? My vessel, your garment, your bottle. No man putteth new wine into old. Why? Because it's going to burst. If God was to give it to you the way, and when, if you stay in the same state that you were when they took it, if God was to give it back to you in that same state, you would burst. You would not be able to handle it. You would not be able to contain it. You would not be able to keep it. It would be stolen from you. It will leak out from the bottle. Pieces will be all over the place. So while the build out is happening, guess what? The build out is nothing for you to do. When the contractors come, they are the ones who have been qualified and they have the skill, they have the training for the build out. And what do? You go mind your business. You go sit upstairs, watch a movie. As they're doing their work, you go out, run to the whatever your assignment is, that's what you do. So while God is pouring into the new vessel, guess what? He's building out and upgrading those places that you petition about, where the enemy can't come to steal, to kill, and destroy. You're in a place of resurrection. You're in a place of building, and you're in a place of recovery. You're in a place of resurrection. You're in a place of building, and you are in a place of recovery. This is the build out moment. See, it's less about what you see in the natural and more about what you see in the spirit in this moment. In this moment. See, you thought everything was lost. You've been prayer. Yeah, I'm going to recover. I'm trying to tell you, I was mowing the grass and I said, I will not lose another thing from this day forward. I'm going to recover it all. And God says, you have already recovered. That means petition accepted. That means the proposal for the work to be done was approved. That means the workers are now being assigned. That means your set date, your your set time of arrival. That means you can schedule for them to come out. Come. I need y'all to hear me. That means your angels are already mobilizing. See, you know, I know how they've talked about angels in other rooms. I've sat in those rooms. I know how they talk about angels on the TV screen. You know, I've seen a couple of those. But let me tell you, angels, there are a set of angels that are ministering spirits specifically for you. Okay? There are angels who are specifically assigned to you. And your angels have names, just like you have a name, just like God has a name, just like Jesus has a name. And I'm telling you right now, you have petitioned, you have prayed, you have fasted, and God says He has accepted it, and you have recovered. And when the judge decrees that you are now in recovery mode, the next step is for the workers to come out and build out. The workers come out now and they bring back in what was taken out, but better. They're not going to bring back in them same walls that they knocked out. They're not going to bring back in those same rusty nails. They're not going to bring back in that same carpet. They're not going to bring back in anything, hear me, that was damaged. No, when they bring it back in and they build out, it's going to be upgraded. You're going to get new sheetrock. You're going to get a new paint job. You might not even get carpet. You might get, that upgraded vinyl floor now. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get a new ceiling. You're going to get some new electrical work. You're going to get the build out is an upgrade. And there's nothing more you have to do but stay out of the way. Keep your mouth out of it. Keep what you think you know out of it. See, sometimes we can be so qualified. We want to tell everybody else how to do their job. They didn't want the school to do it. They didn't study. They didn't put together 50 million houses. But we want to sit down there and tell them where to put the stud. We want to sit down there and tell them. Now, it's one thing when they're asking you and you're giving direction, well, I want this kind of floor. But when you have already laid out the design and the concept, hear me, y'all. Now they take the vision and what do? They run with it. And it will not tarry, but it's going to surely come and happen. So I said, all right, Father, today's July 16th. We're literally in the halfway point, right? And the build out starts now. And you're going to begin to see between now and the end of August within your life, the upgrade and the recovery. Upgrade and the recovery. You're going to begin to see how the angels have been sent forth at the beckoning of the Father to not only go out and get back, but to get back and bring back better. But all you got to do is get out the way. All you got to do is stay consistent as God is pouring into you the new wine, as God is clothing you in the new garment.